The flagship killer is back. It's more expensive, but also cheaper. How is that possible? Stay tuned to find out why we think the OnePlus 8 Pro might just be our favorite Android smartphone of 2020. Hi, I'm MICHAELJOSH, and you're watching GadgetMatch. This is our OnePlus 8 Pro unboxing and review. It's officially the third week of quarantine for me. It's the weekend, and I know I'm supposed to be resting, but I've been feeling a little bit antsy, so I figured, why not just get some work done? These two boxes have been waiting for me, and I figured if I need to get on with that review, I better open them up. So let's dive in. Someone said I needed a better blade to open boxes, so I decided to get this. I don't really like it that much, but it's supposed to have these safety features built in. What do we have here? I guess that's a dead giveaway right there. Never settle. I think this is a clear giveaway. Let's get it out of the box. There you go. If you look closer, it's supposed to have an almost holographic effect to it. Okay, before we play around with this box, let's see why there's a second. All right. Aha, something red. This should answer our question. OnePlus 8 Pro. Before we begin, I think it's worth pointing out that these kits are meant for reviewers. They are meant for unboxing videos, and it's not going to be what you get when you go out to a store and buy one. However, I believe the retail unit, the retail box, is actually inside this bigger box, and I will point it out as soon as we get to it. Okay, let's slide this top cover off first. And open like this. We got cases. One of the most iconic OnePlus cases is one that comes with a sandstone finish. It was grayish black, and looks like they're giving it a colorful spin this year. Next up, another favorite, the carbon bumper case. Of course, this is what y'all wanna see. Just pull on this ribbon over here to lift the box out. This, by the way, is what the actual retail box looks like. It's such a lovely shade of red, and it really sets OnePlus packaging apart from its competition. So this is the OnePlus 8 Pro, so I guess the other box contains the OnePlus 8. Let's go ahead and check it out. Open sesame, same stuff. Sandstone case in cyan. And what's this? Oh, it's the nylon bumper case. This is, without a doubt, my favorite OnePlus case, although I'm pretty excited to try out their sandstone case in cyan. And this over here is the OnePlus 8. Okay, now that we have both boxes here, let's start with the OnePlus 8. But before we begin, looky here, it says, with easy access to the Google apps you use most. We saw the same thing on the Xiaomi Mi 10 box and called Shade, but as they explained in this statement online, I know it's in Chinese, guys, but I had it translated, it was actually Google that required vendors to print this on their boxes. Anyway, look for this pull tab over here that says open. Okay, let's get this cover off. First up, an info packet with a quick start guide, OnePlus stickers, and a welcome letter from Pete Lau. There's also a SIM card ejector tool down here. Let's peel open the invitation letter and get a sneak peek. But I'll save you the surprise if you do end up getting this phone. Next, lift here to get the OnePlus 8 out. This one is shimmery. It's called Interstellar Glow. Also in the box, a red USB-C cable and the Warp Charge 30 power brick. Next, let's open the OnePlus 8 Pro box. Same thing, you just pull on this tab to remove the plastic. The company's motto, never settle, is engraved here. Lift here to get the phone out. And our OnePlus 8 Pro is blue. Okay, there's a lot more to see here. Inside the box, the same paperwork and stickers, a clear jelly case with the words never settle printed on it, cable, and charger. Okay folks, I'm gonna peel off these wrappers and set up the phones so we can move straight on to our review. But before we do, I really wanna see what this cyan sandstone case looks like. Pull here, really nice. It's got that same textured finish as the original. It's very pretty. I like it. Although this blue OnePlus 8 Pro is too nice to cover up.
1 week later.
Hey guys, it's many days later, if that's not evident from my Fuller, Maine. It's a very rainy and miserable day here in New York, and I'm actually not feeling the best either. But today marks the global launch of the OnePlus 8 and 8 Pro. Two very important Android phones, so important that this video can't wait. It's one you shouldn't miss. But before we dive into our review, let's take a quick trip back in time to exactly a year ago, when OnePlus launched the OnePlus 7 Pro, their first phone to get that Pro branding. That phone marked a new direction for the company. Once known as the flagship killer, OnePlus sold phones with top-of-the-line specs at a fraction of the cost of any other Android favorite. At $669, the OnePlus 7 Pro was priced unlike anything that came before it, in an expensive kind of way. And it was clear that OnePlus wanted to compete head-to-head with Apple, Samsung, Google, and Huawei. While a valiant effort, especially with regards to its superb display, the OnePlus 7 Pro fell short in one important category: its camera. Don't get me wrong, the phone took good photos, just not great photos. Not what you'd expect from a phone at this price point. And so, while it was still a good buy, it just wasn't that easy to recommend. This year, the new OnePlus 8 Pro is more than $200 more expensive than the 7 Pro. So the stakes are even higher, the expectations even greater. So what do I think about the new OnePlus 8 Pro? And is it your gadget match? On the outside, the OnePlus 8 Pro looks very similar to last year's model, from its shape, curves, to the positioning of the rear camera system, except that the curves meld more into the frame so it doesn't feel as sharp in the palms. It's also a tiny bit taller, thinner, and narrower, and whatever millimeters they've shaved off from its sides makes a huge difference. Last year's model felt big. This one? It's manageable. It's still bigger than the S20 Plus and the P40 Pro, which, like I've said in my last video, are, at least to me, the perfect size. Having said that, I also rock an iPhone 11 Pro Max, which is wider than any of these phones. The button layout is the same. That physical mute switch, which I like, is still there. Ports, antenna bands, speaker grills, they're all unchanged. The biggest design change is the removal of the pop-up selfie camera. So punch hole it is this year. Jamie asks on Instagram, is the punch hole intrusive? Not really, although I would have much rather had it in the middle like on the Galaxy S20. I personally would pick a punch hole over a pop-up camera any day. I'm just not a fan of moving parts. Also, I like how there's a ring around the selfie camera so people know where to look when taking a selfie. I just wish it didn't zoom in so close when shooting a selfie video. But then again, the S20 does the same also. The official name for this lovely finish on my review unit is Ultramarine Blue, a color that's exclusive to the Pro series. It's also available in this uber cool Glacier Green shade, and for those who want something more classic, there's Onyx Black. The non-Pro OnePlus 8 has its own exclusive color as well, Interstellar Glow, which has a mirror finish that picks up colors from its surrounding. If you follow me on social media, you'll know that I have an affinity for the color blue. So forgive me if I spend a few more minutes talking about how awesome this color is. The finish is matte satin that glistens in the light but isn't glossy. It's more royal blue with brighter tones than last year's Nebula Blue. As blue is the Pantone color of the year, it's no surprise that there have been a host of blue phones this year. But I gotta tell you, as a lover of all things blue, this has got to be my favorite. One con though is that this finish scratches easy, so you won't want keys or coins in the same pocket. One thing you'll find on any 2020 flagship worth its salt is a display with a fast refresh rate. And while 120Hz displays have been found on gaming phones long before OnePlus, the company deserves credit for being the first to bring them to mainstream devices. It all started with the OnePlus 7 Pro, and the OnePlus 8 Pro, let's just say, it gets even better. On paper, it's the best display we've seen on a smartphone. It's got everything you could ask for in 2020. An AMOLED panel that provides rich colors and great contrast, a level of color accuracy that DisplayMate calls visually indistinguishable from perfect. And I know they're a credible source, but they really do need to update their website. 120 Hz at Quad HD Plus resolution. Other phones like the Galaxy S20 Plus that offer the same refresh rate do not support higher resolutions. Gamers will also love the 240 Hz touch sampling rate, and baked into the display is a fingerprint scanner that's fast and accurate. But what does all of this mean? With Oxygen OS optimized to benefit the 120 Hz display, this phone, known for feeling fast, feels faster than ever. With HDR boosting and Dolby Atmos dual stereo speakers, the OnePlus 8 Pro is one heck of a content consumption device, which, at a time of self-quarantine like this, is a godsend. Now, I quickly want to talk about how loud these stereo speakers actually are. I noticed it when I left a YouTube video playing in the background while I was in the shower. Usually the water will drown out whatever it is I'm listening to, but not on this phone.
It's a chocolate egg with a cream filling, so it's hollow.
The best of everything narrative continues when you peruse its spec sheet. You name it, the phone's got it. Snapdragon 865, the X55 5G modem, and nope, 5G does not cause the coronavirus. Wi-Fi 6 support, even memory and storage are the highest spec. You get 8 or 12 gigabytes of RAM with fast DDR5 memory, and 128 or 256 gigabytes of storage with UFS 3.0. While this might sound overkill, OnePlus tells us this is all about building phones that are meant to last for many, many years, especially for those users who hold on to their devices for 3 to 5 years. I played plenty of games this week, from Asphalt 9 to Marvel Contest of Champions. The OnePlus 8 Pro took it like a champ. So let me just start by saying this. Battery life on the OnePlus 8 Pro is impressive. Consistently in the week that I use it as a daily driver, the phone often lasted me a day and a half of average use. And I know I was indoors for most, if not all of the time, but I really tried my best to mimic real-world use. I averaged about 7 to 8 hours of screen on time, watching plenty of YouTube videos and spending time on social media, online shopping, and some games. What else is one to do during lockdown? Now, some days I used it with Wi-Fi on. The other days I turned it off and just used LTE exclusively. The results were pretty much the same. That said, there ain't no 5G where I live, so I was unable to test that. Jet Lester asks, is the new wireless fast charging the highlight? Great question. Do you actually need wireless charging? Usually, my answer is nope. But with wireless charging speeds just as fast as wired charging, why plug it in, right? In my tests, a 30-minute wireless charge got the phone from 0 to 55% and a total of 70 minutes for a full charge. That's not much more than the bundled wired charger. Now, it's worth pointing out that the Huawei P40 Pro Plus and the newly announced Oppo Reno Ace 2 both support 40-watt wireless charging versus the 30 watts on the OnePlus 8 Pro. But here in the US, this is the fastest solution you can get. The Warp Wireless Charge 30 is an optional purchase. It retails for just under $70. Should you get it? Well, if you've been resisting wireless chargers, now's the time to take the plunge. All right, so far, so good. Amazing display, great specs, insane battery life, super fast wireless charging. But the question of the day is what J-Rod asks on Instagram. Is the camera still the Achilles heel of this phone? So the OnePlus 8 Pro has 4. A telephoto camera with 3x lossless zoom, not to be confused with optical zoom, by the way, a 48 megapixel ultra wide angle camera, and a 48 megapixel wide camera, the main lens, and one that's a dedicated color filter for when you dive into photochrome mode. I'm not convinced why that feature deserves a dedicated camera, but hey, you be the judge. Take a look at some photos. 48 megapixel wide camera uses the same Sony sensor that Oppo says was customized first for the Find X2 Pro. Looks like they shared, actually. They're very similar, although the OnePlus 8 Pro is better at not blowing out highlights and more often than not, better at white balance. But I didn't stop my comparisons there. A lot of you asked if the phone is better than the Samsung Galaxy S20 Plus, the Huawei P40 Pro, or the Xiaomi Mi 10 Pro. The short answer, it's really down to personal preference. Let's take a look at more comparison photos. During the day, shots like this one come out so similar, differing mostly in the saturation and warmth. In most cases, the OnePlus 8 shoots photos with neutral colors, except in this one example that's shot against the light. But yeah, as we continue to scroll through more examples, there are some instances where I like the OnePlus 8 Pro's photos better, and some where others excelled. So to go back and answer J-Rod's question, nope, the camera is no longer the phone's Achilles heel. The biggest differences between the OnePlus 7 Pro and the OnePlus 8 Pro are as follows. An updated processor with 5G support, a 120Hz display, fast wireless charging, an IP68 rating for water and dust resistance, and an entirely different camera system. Of all these upgrades, it's the camera improvements that matter most to me. That said, OnePlus is keeping the 7 Pro around for a reduced price of $449. That's a very good price. So if an excellent camera is not your priority, save the $450, get the OnePlus 7 Pro instead. On a related note, Franco asks, is it worth the upgrade since the 7 Pro is a pretty solid phone? You're right, the 7 Pro is a really solid phone already. So if you already own it, maybe wait a year or two before you upgrade. To be honest, I recommend the 7 Pro even over the OnePlus 8. Its camera is better, it includes a telephoto lens, and the difference between Snapdragon 855 and 865 will be hard to tell unless you intend on pushing it real hard. And let's be honest, for most people, you don't really need 5G in 2020. So if you see yourself upgrading your phone in the next year or so, you can wait till then. For now, don't pay for features that you actually will hardly ever use. Before we wrap up, a few other questions I wanted to answer. Mel on Twitter asks, how is the haptic feedback compared to the Google Pixel and Galaxy S20? OnePlus says it's 11% better. So I spent a good 30 minutes blind testing different Android phones and must say that haptic feedback on the OnePlus 8 Pro is much better than on the Pixel. The Galaxy S20 didn't actually have good haptic response, if you ask me. Although, that said, the iPhone is still the gold standard. So, is the OnePlus 8 Pro your gadget match? We started this video talking about price, so let's end it talking about price. The figure you should remember is $899, but let's round it off to $900. Recently, I did videos on the Xiaomi Mi 10 Pro and the Oppo Find X2 Pro, brands that were known to dabble in the flagship killer space. These phones are not available in the US and retail for about $1,000 when their European pricing is converted. When I posted about the Mi 10, I tweeted, but first, let me mourn the death of the flagship killer. It's something that I really feel passionate about, and I understand these are businesses, they need to make money. But these are brands that made a name for themselves by offering top-of-the-line specs for less. That's why I'm a OnePlus fan. I've always been. And as the OnePlus 8 launch drew closer, my biggest fear, which many of you shared, was that the OnePlus would follow the same route. Thankfully, this is not the case. And it's funny how perspective changes depending on context. With all other flagship phones priced at around $1,000, the OnePlus 8 Pro at $900, even if it's $230 more expensive than last year, is looking like a very appealing offering right now. And this strategic pricing is the smartest thing OnePlus could have done. The hardware on this phone is the cream of the crop, performance is great, photos are great, and the experience, possibly the best in the Android space. And for that, the OnePlus 8 Pro deserves the GadgetMatch seal of approval and earns a space in my pocket as my new Android daily driver. But does the performance justify the price? Asks Russell. As much as it hurts me to say this, given the current market value, the answer is yes. So, if you're willing to spend $900 on a phone, the OnePlus 8 Pro offers everything you could look for in a flagship, and probably the best value for money Android flagship that you can buy today. And that was our OnePlus 8 Pro unboxing and review. For more videos like this one, you know the drill, folks. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Hit that bell icon so that you get notified every time and as soon as you post a new video. We recently hit the 500K mark, and in our next video, we'll be announcing the details of a giveaway. You don't want to miss it. So subscribe and turn on notifications. Follow us on social media for all the behind the scenes fun stuff. And as always, make GadgetMatch.com your daily habit. Until the next video, I'm MICHAELJOSH. Thanks for dropping by.